What if your business wasn't something that you had to keep up with, but something that actually held you through seasons of low energy, of shifting capacity, and unexpected life challenges? This is part two of an episode where we are talking about how we can shift the conversation from pushing through to now how to co create with your business so that success is built to hold you, not to break you. Welcome to Resource with Jessica Reed. This is the podcast where we don't just talk about building a business, we talk about building one that actually supports you. Now, in our last episode, we explored how to recognize what state your nervous system is in so that you can regulate yourself accordingly, so that you can plan your day accordingly, so that you can adjust tasks and tend to your needs to avoid burnout. Because the big question here is, how do I build a business when life happens? How do I stay regulated? How do I not lose all my clients? How do I continue to show up, to make money, to grow when things are happening, when life is taking over, when my emotions or my hormones are railroading me? How do I do that? So, last week we spoke specifically about your nervous system and about ways that you can identify where you are at within your nervous system and activities that you can do. So I really highly encourage you to go back and listen to that one right now if you have not, because this is like a building block. Today, we are going to take it a step further because now that you understand what to look for within your body, we are going to now explore the fact that your business is not actually linear. Your energy is not constant, and life will always happen. Stress will happen, capacity will shift. And if your business is structured in a way that continually requires constant high energy from you, perfect consistency, an all or nothing approach, then you are always going to feel like you're falling behind. So instead of building a business that demands from you, what if you built a business that holds you? Now, you have probably heard that, particularly in those earlier years, that you need to put a lot into your business. And that is true to a very certain extent. But I don't believe, personally, my beliefs, I don't believe that in order to have a successful business, you need to commit 18 hours a day, work till midnight, go as hard as you possibly can. I don't personally believe that is going to equate to success. And if it does equate to success, I believe that your body is probably being ignored a lot along the way. And you might get to that success and then realize that your health, your relationships, your mindset, all those important foundations that we need, maybe they're not as supportive as what you'd like them to be. I just wanted to share that with you because I saw something on social media just this morning that irked me. It irked me. And it was really putting down the notion that you can't earn more by doing less. Now, again, I have couldn't tell you how many extra hours into my business. I wouldn't even say extra, it's my business. If I want to put more in, I'll put more in. If I want to put less in, I'll put less in. But what I do believe is that what I don't want you to see a post like that from someone who is very successful in their industry and believe that because you don't have the capacity to go as hard as what they are saying they went, and they obviously don't believe the less you do, the more you make. That's fine. That's their belief. But I don't want you to think I don't have the capacity to push my body into burnout. I don't have the capacity to go as hard as possible, or I don't choose to do that because it is taking away from my health, from my kids, from my family. I don't want you to believe that because you don't want to do that you're not going to have a successful business. Okay. Just thought I'd clear that up. So this episode is for you. If you have ever wondered what happens to my business when I can't show up at my full capacity, and this is something that I want you to think about early on. Because again, particularly if you're going really hard right now, know that your body is likely being pushed through states that maybe it's not quite ready to be pushed through, which is going to catch up with you eventually. Maybe in 6 months, a year, 2 years, 5 years. I don't know when it's going to catch up with you, but it will. I promise. So, when you get to the point where you cannot show up at your full capacity for whatever that may be, for whatever reason that may be, what will happen to your business? If you have felt pressure to be on all the time. Because again, we're getting advice online with things like, I worked 2 jobs and built my business on the side with 2 young kids, therefore you can do it too. Yes, I'm amazed that you can do that. But again, there's no shame in being on all the time if you have the capacity to. But what I'm hearing underneath is that a lot of the time our body is screaming for rest. And we're in this mindset of, I'm just doing the hard yards now. I'm going to give it all I've got. I'll push and I'll push and I'll push and I'll rest later. If that's where you're at, then that's what I am referring to when I am talking about this. Because again, if you have the capacity, and sometimes I do. Sometimes I know for me, I can only obviously share my experience here, but as a manifesting generator, as a mum, as someone who has a lot of consistent energy from the throat down, I can have a response and I can go for it. And I could be on for a few days, and it is just, and also depending on where I'm at in my menstrual cycle as well, I can go and I can create and I can do and I can show up. But then I need time for rest. And here is what I'm learning. And here is why I shared the nervous system states first. What I've learned and what I will continue to keep practicing is that I'm not going to ignore that rest anymore. I'm not. I did that through my regular job and I ended up in a world of hell. And I've tried to do that as a mum through all of the, oh, I don't have help with this, or no, because again, my body, and it's happened like once a year for the last few years where I've had to pause and be like, okay, what is my body telling me? My body screams at me for rest, and yours will be too. Just in whatever language it communicates. Maybe it's through anxiety, through illness. This is also for you today if you are craving a way to co-create with your business instead of feeling like your business is running you. So, we're going to explore why traditional business models don't necessarily support fluctuating capacity and what to do instead. We're going to explore how to shift from forcing yourself to keep up to letting your business support you. Do you feel held by your business? Do you? Do you know what that means? That's going to mean exploring things like the systems, the structures, the mindset shifts that allow you to hold success without pushing through burnout, without pushing into burnout. So, hopefully, by the end of this episode, you feel empowered to build a business that adapts to you so that you don't have to adapt to your business. Okay, that is important. And now I'm going to share behind the scenes of how I am restructuring my business, of what is working for me. And I want a full disclaimer this: what is working for me is based on my current capacity as a mum, as a partner, as someone who has personal things going on in her life, but also based on my very, very unique human design and my very unique birth chart, natal chart. This is how I am structuring my business. Okay. So, what I share that works for me today may work for you, but it also may be that you need to explore your own strengths led strategy to really help you attain how not only your office suite, but like your structure, your day to day running, how it is going to best support you. Okay. And if we haven't met before, by the way, My name is Jessica Reed. I am an intuitive business mentor. I'm also an alternative therapist. I help soul led entrepreneurs build emotional resilience, regulate their nervous systems, and create sustainable success without self sacrificing. Right now, I am personally navigating a season where my cortisol is severely dysregulated. I have had tests that are showing that my body is not actually metabolizing the cortisol, which has led my nervous system to be constantly swinging between states of fight or flight and freeze. And my energy has been unpredictable. And it is making me reevaluate again the structure of my business. Not because in this case, my business created this, but because I want to have a business that can hold me through this personal challenge that I am experiencing. And the old version of me, I think I touched on this before, the old version of me, she would have pushed through. She would have just kept going. She would have made herself just show up and not listen to what her body needed, not listen to where her nervous system was at. But this version of me now, she's learning how to let her business hold her. She's learning how to not grip on to control every little thing, to not make it mean anything if something isn't perfect. If something doesn't quite go to plan, quite go to schedule. I've just pushed back a launch because I had COVID last week and I'm still absolutely fatigued from it. Part old me would have been like, nah, you need the money. Show up. You need to launch this program. What happens if you push it back another? That's not going to serve me right now. Now, and I understand that because, particularly in my business, the amount of energy that it takes me to hold a client, to create a transformation in a group space like this live event, I want to be at my best, and my clients deserve for me to be at my best. There is no point shaming myself that I pushed something back 2 weeks because of illness. So, this version of me, she is learning how to let her business hold her instead of making myself fit into my business's demands. Okay. And I'm sure that's going to land with quite a lot of you. So today, I would like to help you do the same. And just as I move through, I talk a lot about body led business and I talk a lot about making decisions based on nervous system state and things like that. I do want to say discipline comes in as well. Okay, so I'm not saying that we throw all of those things out the window because sometimes we need that. Sometimes it's no, I don't necessarily feel like doing this. But there is a difference between not feeling like something and understanding that I don't feel like this right now because I am in a dorsal state. I'm conserving my energy. My body is perceiving a threat around me. I'm going to help myself through that and then do the thing. That is, I think, something that is really important to point out in the way that I like to teach business, in the way that I like to support entrepreneurs to build their businesses. Because most business models are built for consistency. But what happens when your energy isn't in? So for example, if you've got your content creation day, and this is the only time, like, this is when you create content. This is when you record. This is when you do this. This is when you have a really structured way of doing things. And that might keep everything moving. But again, what's happening to you internally? How are you coping with that? And sometimes it is, like I said, it's okay. All right, I don't really feel like it today, but I'm going to show up and do it. But when it's okay, I'm completely frozen and I'm in a sympathetic state and or not and because we're not normally in both at the same time, but let's say I'm in a sympathetic state and I can't think clearly and I'm holding on to the emotion of the fight that I just had with my kids. And now I'm going to come in and I'm going to try and record content for the next 5 hours. It's going to inspire my audience while I feel like I want to cry. Let's just evaluate how we regulate ourselves first. And how can we maybe create a business that has a little bit more flexibility to be able to meet you where you are at? A lot of people talk about building a freedom filled business. And the first thing that comes to mind for a lot of people that I speak to with a freedom filled business is the ability to travel if they want to, the ability to work their own hours. Those kinds of things come to mind. What I also have come to mind is a business that allows me to be human, a business that allows me to be able, and maybe that's just me as an emotional authority, as someone whose nervous system is up and down a lot. Maybe that's just me, but for the majority of us, we're not living in a stress free world. We're not living in an emotionless space. And if your business can allow you the flexibility to be able to actually roll with that and work with your menstrual cycle and the energies behind that and the energies behind what's going on for you right now in that moment and still stay afloat, to me, that is also a freedom filled business, one that I am not chained to. Now, some human design types, you're going to be like, oh my God, schedules, I need them. That's fine. Again, this is about figuring out what exactly works for you and your unique energy and your unique way of doing things. From me, I need flexibility, not only for those emotional reasons, but as aligned with my energy. I need flexibility. So, if you look at how most businesses structure themselves, they assume that you can be consistent all the time. It's very masculine. They assume that your energy can be steady all the time and that you have the same level of capacity every day, every week, every month. But if you're running a business while you're managing chronic stress, hormone imbalances, that's where I'm at right now, hormone imbalances, nervous system dysregulation, or life shifts, then you already know that this model doesn't work. And trying to fit yourself into this model is going to burn you out. It is going to leave you with a lot of shame and probably a lot of stories about how you can't run a successful business, particularly, again, with some of the messaging out there that dismisses the notion of slowing down to speed up or doing less to earn more. So, what happens? You overcommit yourself in these high energy seasons, and then you crash when your body can't keep up. And I say this because I know it to be true, because I have seen it in my virtual office, in my in person office, time and time again. And then you feel the guilt and the shame when you can't show up at your full force and you question your ability to run a successful business because you can't do it like everybody else seems to. Oh, I know some of you are like, oh, Jess, yes, you just saw right through my soul. It's okay. It's okay if this is how you've been doing things. It took me probably nearly 2 years to be okay with questioning the normal, to be okay with going, you know what, that's all right. That successful person says this works. That's fine. It works for them. What's going to work for me? What's going to work for my season of life? I have a business model that allows me to make the income that I desire, that allows me to continually have room for more growth without having to be on even more. In fact, I have scaled back dramatically. I am building team that allows me to do that, systems, like structures, and I'll go a little bit more into detail shortly about what that looks like. But the thing is that your energy is going to fluctuate and your business should be built to support that and not demand from you in a way that you cannot sustain. So maybe you can spend a moment reflecting on, where is your business expecting more from you than you can actually sustainably give? So when you are co-creating with your business, instead of forcing yourself to keep up, you think of it like your business is an extension of you. So why are you treating it like something that you have to keep up with? Most entrepreneurs treat their business like something that they have to show up for, something they have to completely separate themselves from, or, in my opinion, even worse, become so attached to. This is my baby. You become so entwined that you can't even see that there are two separate energies here at play. So, what if you didn't have to keep up with this business? What if you actually created something that held you? And for me, a part of that, and what I teach in my energetic foundations, which is the first thing that you do when you come into Transcendence Mastermind, it's also something that we could do privately in an intensive session together. But what I like to do is, instead of seeing my business as something that I run, I see it as something I can co create with. I tap into the energy of my business. My business is there as its own separate entity, as something that is going to continue to move forward, not fall to pieces when I need to be human. And instead of making my business fit into this rigid strategy, I have allowed it to evolve with my capacity. And instead of overhauling everything when life happens, I am building flexible systems that are supporting me through every season. And again, this is what I teach in the energetic foundations that we work through in the Transcendence Mastermind, that we can go through privately together as well in a one-on-one intensive. Your business should hold space for your energy and not drain it. I will quite often go into meditation and have a conversation with the energy of my business. What does it need from me to continue to support me? What do I need from it? How would I design it differently if my business was a partner in my well-being and not the other way around? Because instead of trying to force yourself into a productivity model that just doesn't work for you as an energetically fluctuating human being, let's create a structure that adapts to you. So, here are some things that may help to build a business that works with your energy levels, works with your season of cycle, works with your season of life, and enables it to keep moving forward even when you are having a rough time. And then after I share this, I'll share a little bit about what I'm doing in my own business. So, one thing that I think would really help is to have a low energy plan versus a high energy plan. Okay, so on these high energy days, this is where you're batching your content. You're in your ventral state, you're batching your content, you're recording, you're planning, you're doing your coursework. On your lower energy days, then your business holds you with its automations, with repurposing, with its simplified systems, with the team that you're building. Your business should have options for both. Okay. I also really recommend that you simplify your business model, because not every offer needs to be one to one. And I love one to one. You know that. I have amazing one-to-one clients. I've just introduced a new offer where we can do a short one-to-one intensive, which is very different to what I was offering last year. But again, I'm simplifying my business model to meet not only my nervous system state, but to meet my long-term goals as well. As a human, as a mom, as a business owner, I know the reality that one-to-one has a cap. And it has a cap because I have a cap of how much I can give. And there was a point where I have completely booked out my business, completely booked out my one on ones with recurring clients. And then it came to a point where I went, you know what? I'm going to choose to actually reduce the amount of one on ones that classifies me being booked out. Why? Because I chose to be discerning over how much energy I was giving. Not every single service within your business needs to demand live energy either. It is possible to create offers that are so impactful, scalable, lower energy offers that support your income if or when you need to pull back. Okay. So then we want to look at also building in spaciousness, not just structure. And this is something that, again, I'm working with my own energy here. Looking at the way that I structure my days, I'm doing it differently this year as to how I did last year because I felt like I needed a change. I felt like there was a better way for me to really leverage my energy, to really leverage the fact that I need a lot of space in my week, the fact that I need a lot of downtime, that I can go hard and then I need to pull back. And so, with these traditional rigid systems, instead of locking myself into this must do to do list, I've created a framework for my own business that allows for flow. Now, for me personally, I like weekly podcasts, but quite often I'll batch record them, allow for flow, right? But maybe for you, it's that your energy is more suited to a seasonal format. You get to look at what you actually do within your business and how it's going to best support you. So I go for 2, sometimes 3 days of intense let's go where content recording, we are serving clients. I have a full day where I see my one-on-ones instead of spacing them out through the week. And then I have 2 days minimum where it's space. Now, on some of those space days, I might be more productive than in some of the in some of the 3 solid days. But it's because it's naturally flowing, because I've created myself space. And then I have 2 days where it's just rest. Just rest. We're not even allowing ourselves to switch on anymore because I've learned that I need that rest. I have learned that if I don't give myself that intentional rest, then my body will find a way to rest me. And that generally comes in a form of illness that keeps me knocked down for a really long time. So I built in spaciousness into the way that I run my business. I built in spaciousness through systems, which is the next thing I want you to consider, letting your business hold you through systems and cycles. Designing your office, your marketing, your schedule in a way that supports your well-being. And if you cannot afford a team yet, then I really hope that you are leaning into AI in the best way possible. So I use a program that organizes my calendar, my tasks, my to-do list that reminds me when I haven't done the things. I use software that allows me to basically just record the podcast and then hand it over to my team. And then they've got their processes as well that they go through. And if for some reason one of them couldn't do that, I know that I've simplified those processes enough, particularly with AI, that it's not going to take a huge amount of energy for me to have to step in and do that task if they were sick or something. Marketing, everything from me, the way that I repurpose and create my content, everything has been systemized now in a way that allows me to be not hands off because I don't want to be hands off in my business, but allows me to have space. And so then, if I cannot show up fully for a week or a month, my business will still function. So I last week, my poor clients, the Thursday before last, I had a tummy bug. I had to reschedule a full day of clients. And then same clients rolled around for the next week and had COVID. I was like, oh my gosh. Obviously, yes, there was that element of guilt. But then in that, I felt bad that I had to reschedule them twice in a row. But then there's this other part of me that's, if you don't do this, oh my God, I was not functioning. Like COVID brain seems to be a very real thing. But I was like, if you don't do this, if you try to show up unwell, what kind of experience are they going to have with you? And the thing is, honestly, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday last week, I just sat in bed. I was so sick. I just sat in bed. And what will often happen with me is my brain starts going, all right, Now you're ready to start looking at your business. Let's just sneak in and look at some offers. I was just sick. And so instead I went, you know what? The only time I ever watch TV is when I'm sick. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to put on something completely mindless, something that I used to absolutely love. And I'm just going to let myself surrender to this, knowing that my VA was still working in the background on my launch coming up, knowing that all of the moving pieces, knowing that my content was already scheduled, next week's podcast already in the hands of the people who make it happen after I do it, the content that goes with that, like all of these things all ready to go. And I could take that time. Okay. My clients are beautiful. They understand. You got COVID. Like they get it. They appreciate me putting my well-being first. So what happens if you couldn't show up for a week or a month? Would your business still function? Do you have recurring revenue to make sure that your bills are still going to be paid? Do you have systems in place that are going to help you to be able to actually have that time and things still keep moving? This isn't about you avoiding work. And by the way, it's also not selfish to set these things up intentionally, not just to hold you so that you can be sick or that something bad can happen and you can move through it, but also in case you want to build your business in a way that allows you to work less, to have a shorter work week, to be more present with your kids, to travel more, to have me time, to have, I don't know, freedom Fridays, like whatever it is that you want. These systems aren't just going to hold you for disaster. And these structures aren't just going to hold you for disaster, but they're also going to hold you for freedom. A freedom-filled business that allows you to have your version of freedom, allows you to be able to, again, be off and have the business not collapse. If you are tied to your business 100% for it to make money, that's not freedom. It's not a freedom-filled business. You might be getting financial freedom, but at what cost? And I will just say, if you are someone who absolutely loves working your 80-hour weeks, amazing. I love that for you. I love that for you if you love working your business night and day. If it lights you up and it is fueled by energy and passion and you are listening to your body, that is absolutely amazing. Your business should be expanding with you, not extracting from you. So some of the shifts that I have made recently in my business, as I said, are to go not hard, but having 2 to 3 days where it is like focused. We're seeing clients on these days, we're getting this work done, and then having that 1 to 2 days of rest. I'm also looking at my office suite. Why does some things I included, and we've all done this, but when I went through my soul aligned offer process of my offers over the holidays, over the Christmas break, and I looked at things that I created and I was like, okay, I was putting more and more into this. It's requiring more and more of me. That doesn't necessarily make it sustainable for me. Am I going to focus on selling 20 one-on-one offers? I could have a very lucrative business if I did. But for me and my business model and me understanding that I need to support my body, my mind, my emotional state, my kids, the kind of life that I want to have, that means that I don't want to be on all the time. So I get to design my office suite. I get to design my weekly structure, my systems, my day-to-day practices. I get to design all of that in a very strength-led way, in a way that very much takes into account, again, my birth chart, my human design. And that is something that, as I said, we're very passionate about doing inside of the Transcendence Mastermind. It's also something that we can work privately together to do as well. So, what I would love for you to ask yourself right now is, what is one system that you could create today to make your business feel lighter? How can you design your business to work with your energy instead of against it? So, for me, as a Manny Jen, as someone who responds but also has an emotional authority, if I show up and it's okay, it's content writing day and I've got no inspiration, I've had no response to anything, I'm going to procrastinate on those days. I'm going to waste my day. I'm going to get nothing done. But over that time, if it's okay, I know that over the next couple of days, I've got these things to get done. And this is what I'm feeling inspired to do now. Or when I have a wave of inspiration, I will like pre plan sometimes my next like 10 to 20 podcast topics. I know I've already had the response and it's all there. It's all there and ready for me to come in and decide which of those topics I have a response to in that day. There are ways that I have set up my business so that it isn't so rigid. Now, again, you might need rigid, but if that rigid requires you to be outputting the same energy day in, month out, is that really supportive? Now, my structure is going to be different to yours. For me, in the season of life that I'm in right now, when I am having that response to create and talk about something, I am aiming to batch record because I don't want the added stress and pressure of having to show up every day on social media. I love having some white space on my social media calendar so that if something comes up that I'm really wanting to talk about, I'll quickly create a reel. But I've also know that I've got my basic content out, scheduled, ready for consistency through my systems that were content that was created through a response. So they're just some things to think about. How can you create more flexibility? Does this rigidity, I don't think that's a word. This is COVID brain. Does the rigidness in your business actually support you? And maybe we can still have rigid structures and systems because, again, we need systems 100%. Like I just said, there are systems in my business that are enabling me to have all sorts of flexibility and freedom. But do those systems, particularly the ones that require your output, have enough flexibility to allow you to be human? And that is what I really hope that you take away from this. And if you would like to work on that together, if you would like to build a business that holds you from the inside out, then you can book a one-on-one intensive. As I said, it is a new offer. We will spend 2 hours together going deep diving into your nervous system state, into how your business is holding and supporting you, into whatever block you might have right now in your mind, in your body, in your business, so that you can move forward. These calls are very intuitive and very, very heart led. So it's very much about what you need in that moment. What is your most pressing issue? I have a retainer offer where we can work together for a few months as well, but they are extremely limited. And then, of course, we have the Transcendence Mastermind with other coaches and healers and service based businesses who are all on a very aligned mission, building businesses that allow themselves to make the impact, the income that they desire without sacrificing themselves, to have these consistent 5-figure months without tying themselves to every single bit of their business. So, if any of those feel like your next step, I would love to hear from you. There are links in the show notes that you can explore. You can reach out on Instagram. And of course, don't forget to check out the free event that I have coming up. It is a live energetic activation. You are not going to want to miss this one. The expansion code, you can save your seat now, and I will see you there. As I leave you today, I want you to remember that your business should not feel like something that you have to survive. It should feel like something that holds you through every season. And the more that you, and if you, and by the way, sorry, before I finish, that is a belief that I hold. And I invite you to borrow that belief if you believe it will serve you. Because the more that you allow your business to flex with your energy, the more ease, sustainability, and expansion you will create. So, this is your permission to do things differently, to do things in a really strengths led way that aligns with you. I'll see you next week.